Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday Round Table. I am Nita, your host, alongside my co-host, Mr. Radigan. We are with us Mr. Harris and Mr. Crawford. Gentlemen, today we hope for a lively discussion on the issues that we're going to raise. This week, we saw a national mourning. The Governor General declared national mourning in Jamaica after the murder of that 8-year-old child. We also saw the Prime Minister table the job description for the MP. And we see a lot of crisis in Jamaica. It seems as if people are still wondering what is happening. In today's Gleaner, the editorial called for increased technology to control crime and manage public space. I am not sure if I do not see how increased technology, access to technology, will prevent someone from cutting the throat of a 8-year-old child. Mark you, this is not the first. In this year, 7 youngsters already murdered. And the question you have to ask yourself, what the hell is going on? We saw the demonstration around the salary that petered out. Now this murder, National Day of Mourning, and we don't know what's happening. Why are we not having more protests, more demonstration against these acts? Why? With me today is Brother Clinton Hutton, Professor at UWI, Michael, who has spent a long time studying the Jamaican people, the resistance movement, and fight back. I have with me Rattigan, Las Crawford, and Wesley Harris. We're going to pick the professor brains to get a deeper understanding as to why we are not seeing more mass demonstration. Of course, in the music, we see the resistance. On social media, we hear people talking, but nothing organized. Why is that so, Clinton? Clinton. Oh, man. Okay, can we go to someone? Radigan, why is that so? Why aren't we seeing more demonstration? Why aren't we seeing this sort of thing? Fight back.
I think Clinton back on. Clinton, can you hear?
Yeah.
Clinton,
can you hear us?
Apparently not.
While I'm perfectly willing to answer while you work out the issues with him. Yeah?
Hello?
Clinton, can you hear Radigan?
No.
Yeah, we can't hear him. No, I can hear him.
We can hear you now, but are you hearing Rattigan?
I'm not
Clinton,
hearing him.
You can't hear me now? You can't hear me?
Can you hear him now?
This thing says
Mic check.
I'm not hearing him.
Mic check.
Oh, man.
I can't hear him. Can't hear him.
Yeah. Go ahead. I don't know what's happening, bro.
Well, the idea about protest, I don't know if it's in the Jamaican psyche to believe that protest will solve anything. And then we haven't seen We haven't seen mass protests as we're calling for. The other thing is that there's a sense of fear. Because first thing is this: in order to protest, you have to get a permit, right? Unless I'm not sure about Emancipation Park if you can just have a gathering, but I know in general, based on the Public Order Act, you have to have a permit, and that permit has to come from the police. And I don't know if that permit, I don't know if it's ever been tested where they asked for a permit and it wasn't given, and then people had to go to court. I'm not sure about that. The other thing is that there's a sense of fear in people in Jamaica have a sense of fear of the government based on some of the things that have happened in recent times, where you have a person somebody who expressed a view about the prime minister, and within a day or two, the person was paraded in front of the media and had to issue an apology, which, if you think about it, that's a violation of the person's rights, because you have a right to speak. You don't have a right to threaten, but I don't think he was threatening. At least the ones that I saw, there were no threats. They were just expressions about the way the government was handling the COVID pandemic. And so people start getting the sense that, we can't really speak, because if we speak, we're going to be held to account. And at the same time, we have 200 wanted people and we can't find them. But you dare not speak out about the prime minister, members of his cabinet, for fear that they'll come find you, and then you'll be hauled before the media, and then you have to give an account. Well, actually, you don't even give an account. You make an apology. So I think it's a combination of things. I think it's fear. I think it's lack of knowledge. And I think there's also a belief that, this not going to solve nothing. We're a protest for this, not going to solve nothing. So those are three of the things I can think of why we don't see more involved protests. I mean, we see it, but like I said, it's not on the scale or the level that you would think cause the government to think twice and do a course correction.
Clinton, are you hearing me? Anyone last, Wesley, you want us to follow up
Yes.
on Rattigan?
Yes.
Clinton, you hearing us? Go ahead,
Hello?
Wesley, our last. Hello?
Yeah, in terms of what is happening, you are saying, Michael, repeat that question. Repeat the question.
Why aren't we seeing more sustained protest, demonstration against the violence and even the killing of the young miss? The Governor General declared a national day of mourning, and I'm not sure what happened. Seeing that was a spontaneous thing, organized, but it's just one day. Wesley, can you sit back? I'm not getting your full face, my brother. I'm not getting Just a question: why aren't we not seeing more protests, more sustained protests? And when we see process, it's just for a short time. Most of the protests we are seeing is on the internet, social media, people cursing out the government and what have you. But that's not going to bring any result, not changing the condition. So Radigan put forward 3 reasons. What the others think? Clinton, you're there?
I think, Mikey, part of the problem is I think there's a preoccupation amongst the people to try put food on the table. That's one reason, I think, because the conditions, economic conditions, pretty bad for most people, and most of the protests means people taking time either away from work or away from them livelihood to go out and protest. Another aspect I think is leadership. I don't think the leadership is there amongst the people to really make them feel energized enough to take on some of the issues facing the country right now. I mean, the few people who will independently go out on the streets, it's not enough to sustain the kind of protest that will bring any kind of results. Like the other day with the salary thing, there were people who were willing to go out on the streets and make them voices heard. But I mean, being out on the street and seeing the kind of support that is there, you know, it don't energize the thing enough to make it sustainable. You know, that's part of the problem, I think. I agree with Radigan too, that there's certainly a level of fear among some sections of the population. I mean, there might be some kind of repercussion, you know, either from the government, the police, you know, or probably criminal elements aligned to the government or whatever forces they are speaking out against.
Clinton, not Wesley.
Yeah,
You want to come in here?
I am in agreement with all the things that is said already. But I believe, to take it a bit further, is that yes, people in their self feel that they will be victimized by the government, and more than anything else, the police or the security force. Because the police is not just that. The security force consists of the JDF, the military, and the police. So they are in one accord now, working together. And their mission and their thing is to crush anything that rise in a public way against the government. So people are definitely afraid of being hurt by that police brutality, military brutality, right? But the most important side of it is not that police brutality wasn't there when we were protesting. We protest. I think we carry out more protests than any other generation in this period, in this country, right? But because of the leadership is what counts. If somebody knows that there's a leader out there, that if anything happens, that leader will take up the mantle, will take up their cause and say, well, all right, you cannot lock up Wesley because he was in his right to protest, and there's a lawyer for him coming through the political movement or the youth clubs and so forth. That is not there. That is non-existent, right? And when people feel afraid and people feel that they are not safe in terms of a legal representation, and then that they may go into jail and they lock them up for all kind of things and all kind of trump up charges, and nobody is there to represent them. Yes.
Yeah.
That's Mikey. Mikey, you are saying something? Hello? Hello?
Well, yeah.
You're not hearing me?
You're freezing, Mikey.
Last year, you hear me?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you.
Oh.
Democracy.
God, that your mic is stopped a while ago. So I am
democracy, usually it is the government that fear the. Hear me?
usually it is the government that what? I am saying, Mikey, that
Mikey,
Can you hear me?
you're not coming in clearly. You're breaking
Yeah, I'm
up
saying
and
that
freezing.
Mikey, we are not flowing.
breaking.
I will continue and then we pick it up. Yes, so in those instances, then people are afraid. Once ago, we have the leadership from the community level at the youth club.
Huh?
We have the leadership from the political organizations at the YO, at the PMP, at the civil society. The only place that the leadership is there is at the civil society level, right? Which consists of mainly middle class people. And because it consists of middle class people, in terms of its continuation, right? It's not coming from the bottom up. It's like coming from the top down. And until you get a mix of middle class and upper middle class and all of those type of people that was in the movement at one time, then you will have the consistencies, right? If you are not having that in terms of the man on the street, the man in the street is believing that he will not get representation and he's afraid. And until we can start from this is why we have this forum. This is why this forum is supposed to generate that type of understanding among the people that look, we are a voice
What's going on?
and our voice will spread across the world, right? And the mainstream media is not picking up on things
Can
that
you hear
the
me?
government is doing.
I want to
Right.
reach out to the audience, listening audience. Let them know. Bear with us while we saw. Wesley, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you in and out. Radigan?
Yeah, man. Mic check.
hear me?
Mic check. Yeah, man.
Hearing
Loud and
hearing you loud.
All right, roll it now.
Just Mikey, we're not hearing.
Yeah, I'm hearing you now, Wesley.
Yes, my brother. So I was trying to put forward
Can the
different
others hear me?
pointers.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. There's a
Yeah.
kind of feedback in your mic or something.
My mic is a feedback.
No, Mikey.
No. All right, I could go and talk to Mikey. Straighten out his mic.
Yeah,
You see where
also
I'm coming
towards,
from, last and ready.
yeah, I understand. I agree with you too. But I also think that part of what is going to happen is that we don't reach the stage yet where people go out there and test the water with the small demonstrations and them learn them lesson and them test the water again and learn some lessons and the thing they learn and grow. This thing have to happen when a movement a come back together again. There's been like years of dormancy in the political struggle in the country, right? And there has been fear, there has been doubt, and it's going to take some time for people to have the confidence to say, yes, let's go out there and do this. Because we test the water a couple times and we see where we can make progress either in drawing more forces, right, or better organizing ourselves, And another thing, some people probably saying to themselves, does it make sense? Does this government have a track record of listening to people when them go out on the streets? All of those things have a factor in how people respond to issues, whether by demonstrations or not. Because some people going to be asking, does demonstration really make sense? Some people going to be asking that. And until we start seeing results, until some of the demonstrations happen and bring results, until that time, we're not going to have these big demonstrations.
But a death of an 8-year-old child in such a brutal fashion should have evoked a response. The only response, well, Prime Minister said we cannot allow her death to just go like that. But the only response so far is the Governor General a National Day of Mourning, and at the same time saying that we should deal with the root cause of violence and crime in Jamaica, which I agree with. You understand me? So there's something happening. This fear of the Jamaican government.
I think I hear Clinton or somebody. There is outrage.
No, it's me.
There's no question about the outrage in the country about the death of the 8-year-old. But the outrage is not going to a certain level. It is staying in a safe space where people feel they don't have to put too much on the line. People will stay in them private rooms and them talk and them go on social media and them talk, but I don't know.
Clinton, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Clinton? Radigan, you want to expound some more on those 3 points?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. You mentioned that
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, all right. Well, the question for you, Clinton, is why are we?
I am hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Can you hear?
Yes.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, we are hearing you. Clinton, the question for you is why are we not seeing more protests in Jamaica?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, Clinton, go ahead.
Gone again.
Yeah. So, Radigan, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying that the Governor General, I mean, it's the act itself was outrageous and affected everybody. The Governor General saw it fit to call for a day of mourning. Governor General of the government, doesn't matter. The officials in Jamaica called for a national day of mourning. But and there should be, especially for this little girl that was brutally murdered. But the question I have is she the only 8-year-old that's been killed so viciously, so brutally in Jamaica over the past several years? And a life is a life. What about the other people who have been killed innocently in their beds, going to work? Do they deserve a day of national mourning as well? And is a national day of mourning enough to spark the outrage that we need? Because it sounds to me like there is a failure on several levels. I think it was Wesley who mentioned, and both of them last mentioned lack of leadership. And I agree with them totally. And while the police cannot stop every crime, the government can take an active stance in addressing some of these things because we know they are happening, right? And as long as we remain in a reactive posture, then we're just going to have National Day of Mourning, National Day of Mourning, National Day of Mourning. But if we're really serious, why not have a National Day of Mourning for all of the people innocently killed, right? instead of having it for this. And I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve. There should be a national day of mourning for this. But if that is a response, you're gonna have a national day of mourning. Then have one every day. Then, because people are killed every day in Jamaica innocently. Because the point I'm trying to make is that a national day of mourning solves nothing. Solves nothing. It's like the prayer breakfast. It's all for the cameras. It's all for photo ops. But does the message live beyond that day? And I dare say, no, doesn't live beyond that day. Because if you ask them, okay, you have a national day of mourning, tell me about your plan to prevent something like this from happening next week. They have no answer. So then you ask yourself, what is a national day of mourning? Is it just solidarity for that day to say we find that this is distasteful, we find that it's unforgivable, we find that that at the rate we're slaughtering our children, we find that it's distasteful, and so on and so forth. And so we're coming together to express in unison our feelings about that. And then what happens tomorrow? The day after? The next killing. And therein lies the problem. We're all captives in this reactive bubble. Nobody's taking an active step to say, let's prevent. They should be focused on prevention. That's what they should be focused on. Instead, they're focusing on, okay, it happens, let's have a national day of mourning, and that's it. And if that's the best they can do, then I'm sorry, I'm not impressed.
Clinton.
Mikey, where Clinton is his internet is a problem. He lives way up in the mountains.
Okay. Go ahead.
So he will have that problem coming in and out, way up in the mountains.
Yeah. So that's
you're going to have to wait on him to come in. I will continue the discussion.
Yeah. Well, let's do that. Last, wait, a national day is a waste of time. A national day of mourning.
Hello.
I wouldn't say.
Clinton. He's not hearing. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say it is a waste of time, because anything that brings awareness to an issue is important. And what a National Day of Mourning does, it brings awareness about a particular issue, right? And people can participate and whatever else. But that, as for me, I think that's the most it can do.
Hello?
Right?
Hello?
I'm not hearing.
Not hearing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you hearing me, Clinton?
No, I'm not hearing. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. As I'm saying, the National Day of Mourning will bring awareness, but that's not enough. I mean, it goes back to the issues we've been discussing about crime and crime fighting and security in the country. I mean, until the structures are in place to make people feel secure and to secure our kids, whether they're in school, and secure people generally across the country, I mean, these things are going to happen again, and people just not going to feel safe. I mean, the people need to feel that there are structures in place that can do the prevention that Ratty talk about, right? And when things happen, when it get past the prevention stage and things happen, I mean, there are consequences. Well, in terms of proper investigations, in terms of, doing the hard groundwork to find these criminals. I have noticed, like with the Minister of National Security, every time something happens, his favorite comment is that it won't go unpunished or something like that, and that they will find the perpetrators, and they'll. It's become like a buzzword for the Minister of National Security, and nothing ever happens, right? These things don't give security and peace of mind to the country and to the people who are most affected by crime.
Let me just jump in and say something that I don't want the audience to be misled into thinking that I'm saying that a National Day of Mourning is useless. All I'm saying is that if you're going to do a National Day of Mourning, first of all, just don't do it for one person. Do it for all the victims, right? Make it a week of national mourning, right? And then you do the follow-ups, which is like, the prevention things. But don't let it be like the prayer breakfast. Tell me one, if you can tell me one good thing, then I'll be convinced about the efficacy of a prayer breakfast, where all of these pastors, they get together and they stop one crime whenever they have these prayer breakfasts. I just don't see it, because it's one thing to create awareness, but awareness isn't enough. Awareness isn't enough. You need action on top of that, and to me, the posture of saying, okay, we create the awareness and then we'll wait for the next one to happen, and then we'll have another National Day of Mourning, and then we'll create awareness, and then we'll wait for you see the cycle? We have to break that cycle. And I don't see positive steps being taken to break that cycle. And by the way, there's a police commissioner, Williams. His favorite phrase was, "No stone will be left unturned." And this might as well him never even said that, because him said, "No stone will be left unturned. We're going to get to the bottom of this." And if you go back and you look at his record, you see that probably,
Nothing.
the overwhelming majority of the cases that he spoke about, no stones would be left unturned. All that stone them left unturned, because them not arrest nobody for a lot of the crimes.
That's my issue. I share that's my issue, Radigan. They always say, we're gonna leave no stone unturned, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this, and these people will not get away. And in every instance that the Minister of National Security comes out, even says something like that, it die a natural death.
Mm-hmm. True.
And that's not comforting. That's not comforting to the population. We need when these people, whether the police commissioner, the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister, we need, when these people talk, we need to see consequences. What's the use of talking tough and there's no consequence for anything? And I think that is what is leading to some of the doubt that people have. That is what is leading to the doubt that people have in going out on the streets, or in reaching out to the member of parliament, or saying things to the police or whatever, because nothing ever happens.
Well, I think anything that highlight the problem in Jamaica is good. So I'm not going to rule out a national mourning, day of national mourning. I agree with Rattigan that it has to be much broader. And a gentleman made this point in today's Gleaner. We need a national day of mourning for all victims of crime and violence in Jamaica. But like everything else, this government is a reactive government, and not just a reactive government. But I think the government will use this in their campaign for office to show that they are busy on top of stuff and what have you. But while they're doing that, you have other murder happening around the country, some brutal thing happening around the country, and we don't see no result. So it's not just the government is reactive. I think the government is the politician, the government. I want to put on government. I think the government is playing with the Jamaican people. They think they can laugh and smile up with you, and then
just look at the record. The government is inept. They're unprofessional. They're rank amateurs. They have no idea what they're doing. They're so backwards that they have to come out with a job description to tell you as an MP what your requirements are. That's how bad things have gotten. That they have to come up. And by the way, if you discuss it today, I'll point out some flaws in it. But they come
Yeah,
up the
we're
green
gonna,
paper,
we're
yeah,
gonna
the green
touch on it.
paper and the white paper. They come up with this thing and they don't. That's how bad things are. You're talking about a bunch of people who are a group of people useless, because all they do is react. All they do is react, and some of them
But
can't even react because you know why? They don't know what the issues are. So it's like
radical,
they don't even know. So they don't know if to turn left, right. Them just follow the crowd. If the crowd runs, so them run with the crowd. Meaning the crowd up their ilk. Them run with it. They don't have the courage. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the understanding. They don't have the backbone to say, listen, no. This is where it should be going. You guys are wrong, and here are my reasons why I say that. They don't have that, brethren. What they have is a cult-like following. Actually, it's more than a cult-like following because I think him just beat them in a submission. He like when beat the rest of the people in Jamaica in a submission. People just give up. That's what it is. People just give up.
radical.
I don't think I don't think the people give up. I really don't think the
Well,
people give up.
tell
I
me,
think
tell me then,
what's that,
tell me why you think they don't give up, and give me examples of what.
I tell you something. I think what's happening, they said silent river run deep. I think that is what Jamaica is going through right
Yeah, but
now.
you have to have a river. That presumes that there's a river.
I think the river is the masses of the people.
No. But that's what I'm saying.
There's a stream. There's a stream coming. The streams are the different. You remember rivers start with streams. You remember that? River don't just come in a big flow. When it reaches the valley, then you see the river.
Right.
So we are coming. The streams is coming in this period.
But the question then is, where are the streams at this point?
If you listen to
the streams is the small demonstration. The streams is the people reaction on social media. The stream is the man who calling in on the radio program. The stream is all of that. What we need from those catchment streams, those of us who do geography will understand it. Right, you have the different streams, then it come into a bigger space and you start to have more water flowing till when it go further down the valley, then it becomes a little bit heavier, and when it comes in the flat, that is where it is.
All right,
I believe. Yes.
No. Let me. Sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
You use geographical terms.
You use geographical
terms. Well, if you're going to talk about a stream or streams, right? Flowing into a river, there's something called an oxbow. This is geography, you remember that oxbow lake, where
yes.
It's a shortcut. The river used to go like this, and over time it just goes straight. That's what we need, and we need it in a hurry. That's what we need. We don't have time to go around the curves and the bends and all of that, because you lose people with time. You need, if it's a stream, I just say it has to be a powerful stream. And I think I get what you're saying. What you're saying is that we need to harness all of those streams into a river, because they're going in different directions right now. You just need to harness them, and that's the challenge.
And that's what I'm saying. All right, just to follow up, Mikey, if you give me the chance to.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yes. We speak on a few things. I just need to say some more things to it. In terms of the one day thing that the GG came about with, right? I believe what the GG when he came out with that was to give the nation thanks for his high raise in salary. Right? He wasn't doing anything.
Agreed.
So he wants to say to you that, yes, now that I get a raise in salary, yes, I can start do something. Yes, it is important for us to have these type of things. And I'm gonna go back. I don't want to sound ungrateful. When my grandson was killed, and I will always say it, the Jamaican public came out, right? And we have a day of mourning. And the government at that time said that in terms of the bus system and those things, they will have a better bus system for the students and so forth. Nothing like that happened up to today. There's no school bus system. So they will come out with the same thing. In terms of a one day mourning, one day mourning is not good enough. Yes, one day I think the GG didn't have a plan. He didn't have a plan. He didn't come out and say, yes, after this day of protest, what will we do? Is it that we will take it to the different parishes that every first Sunday or every first Monday or every that in the month we will have a day of mourning for people who basically will get killed in those areas and a broader Jamaica. That is what did not came out. There was no plan for that, and I think that was lacking.
That's a question.
Right?
Whose responsibility is it to do so?
Yes,
go ahead,
ready.
Wesley. No. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you. No.
Yeah, man. So I think that was really lacking. There was no plan, right? I think that they could have expanded in a way that they are saying, yes, we don't just want to have it in Kingston for the little baby girl, because yes, for over the past 10 years or so, there's a monument downtown near KCC that has the name of thousands of children who died from brutality in Jamaica, from wicked men and wicked women that lives in these spaces. All right. So far, I don't hear any of them that come to trial to say Jantam. I don't hear it. I don't say it don't happen, but I don't hear it. I don't know if any of you heard it, but I don't. So we need that you can say, all right, this man, John Harry killed Mary J at Tom Hill, and therefore is on trial for this murder. And you put him, that's a day when the television and everybody is on this man. You give access to the courthouse that everybody can see, and the next man who know that, well, look, I got dead. I'm a name, I got dead. I'm a family, I got see it. I'm a family, I got shame. And because families have to start to be shamed, right? When families start to be shamed, then all of this will help to dissipate. That is my belief, right? You can start to shame the families by putting the man on the pub, in the not just having a closed door trial, but a open trial to media, right? That people can stay far and wide and see the trial and what is going on, the cross examinations and this. Rat is a liar, so he will correct me if I am wrong in this, right? But that is one way I think we can go. So we need to that what they need. He started it. So what we from this side of it, what we must do as a movement, because this is a movement. Although it is four of us on it most week, it is a movement because we are speaking to thousands of people and hundreds of people, and we soon reach millions of people. So our movement must also agitate for a broader thing. Let us put solutions, a broader thing. Let us say, if we can find somebody in St. Thomas, what can you do in St. Thomas to have a day of mourning for somebody in St. Thomas? And then we find from this forum, we have people. So Mike is somebody you know in Portland. We can start to agitate with them to say, let us do something in Portland for that. And we get all of these people together, and then we speak, right? It's a good start. It's a very good start. Although what I really believe is saying to the public, let's not forget, I get a raise up pay, so I start to work. I have never seen him doing anything. You understand? So when we go to that is where I leave it until we move to the job.
A question to the panel. What of your position? What could or should the opposition? I mean, you have members of the opposition with portfolio responsibilities, right? Shadow ministerial responsibilities. I mean, you have a shadow security person in the opposition. What are these people doing? I mean, to help to bring awareness and to energize the thing to bring change. Because we talk about leadership and we have to start pointing fingers. If we're going to talk about leadership, we can't talk about leadership in a vacuum. We have to start pointing fingers at the people who should be leading, right? And one set of people who should be leading in this area is the opposition, the PNP. I mean, we are the people who should be talking about national security and making recommendations, right? And helping to clarify for the public what can be done differently than what the GLP is offering. We have not heard that from the People's National Party, and that is part of the problem, that when people go out there to demonstrate, what are they demonstrating for? What do they want to see change? What do they want to see that is new? I mean, it is for the opposition, right, to help the people to formulate these kind of ideas, you know, to bring to bring some kind of to bring some kind of awareness to these issues, you know.
Well, I must say this: the People's National Party is doing stuff, but very limited because access to resource. I don't think you can ask the PNP to be on the same level as the JLP, because the JLP is in office and the way they distribute the resource, it's like the PNP MP have to fight tooth and nail to get something in. But I agree with you. The PNP need to be more active. But the PNP is just one organization. What about the other organizations involved? Is it time to have a national alliance or something? Because I don't see one party by itself leading to a restoration of Jamaican values and what have you. It's going to take more than the PNP, my brother. It's going to take more than PNP. Am I wrong?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, bro.
Mike?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I agree with Lass in terms of where the leadership from the PNP, but let's follow up in terms of what I was saying in terms of the national thing. As I say, and I'm going back to the GG started because he got his raise and because he knew we want Jamaica to believe that he's working. Right? So it started a one-day thing in Kingston. I believe now with us, and I want us to see ourselves as leaders, because we are leaders. We are leaders. We were community leaders and national leaders at different times growing up in Jamaica. Right? I lead one of the biggest organizations in Jamaica nationally. You know that, Mikey. You were a part of that organization, right? You were a part of the leadership of that organization. See? So things, when we started those we make things happen. We make things happen. We have national demonstration in the field. When against the IMF in the early years, we bring out the housing workers, we bring out the people from the community, and it becomes national at that time. And we were the engineers of that.
But this time the conditions are different.
Yeah, no, well, I'm going. You still have people on the ground. You still have PNP, still have community, still have people in their community who are vying for MPs, who are vying for councillors, So what they need to do, as I'm saying, crime is one of the main thing on the country. And then if you can get people, because the more people you speak to, you know more. You know that, me know that. So what they need to do is to have a national day of mourning across the country at different time. The PNP needs to deal with that. Use their organization at the level, at the community level.
I don't think a national day of mourning without support from the government will be impactful.
No, I don't want it to be one day, no. I don't want it to be one day. I want it that every parish like this month we have it in Portland. Like what we have in Kingston yesterday. Or
who
over the weekend
that?
gone,
Who
right?
lead that?
Friday.
Who organize and lead that effort? Who you say organize? Yeah, the opposition party.
It organized from the GG. That's why I'm saying somebody must take it from the GG. Although the GG do it in an opportunistic way.
But Wesley,
right? We must make that change.
Can I say
That's
something,
what I'm
Wesley?
saying.
Can I say something, Wesley?
On the ground.
Can I say something on that, Wesley? My position, is that.
Yeah, man, I'm listening.
I will accept a National Day of Mourning. But how much days of mourning do we need? The National Day of Mourning or any day of mourning is just for awareness. It doesn't solve nothing. Right? It's just an act of awareness. It's not something to solve the problems. What we need are things to solve the problems. If you go and move something across the country, move something across the country that is going to make a difference. And if we have 14 days of mourning in every parish, we still, when we come back to Kingston, we're still at square one.
No, I am not.
Right? That is my
Wesley, allow last to finish. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, go ahead, Wesley. Go ahead. Go ahead, Wesley.
No, I am not saying that the national. You remember what I'm saying? The national
Wesley,
day of mourning is where you gonna galvanize the support of the ground, and at that time, the people, you're gonna ask the people on the ground, what is it that we need to make the change in this society? Right? It's not that you just go and speak of God and Christ and sing prayers of praises. All right, you're gonna ask for people recommendation, the people's recommendation in terms of what we need to do what is happening in this parish, right? What is happening in this parish? Is it that we are lacking healthcare in this parish? What is happening in and each person, each community, each parish that you go, you bring forward a list of things that people needs to see happen, and then when you come back together, you compile it and you pick out the similarities, and then you say, all right, these are 10 points that is coming out of this national day of awareness, because you have to start from somewhere, right? And if you are starting from somewhere, you are going to tell the people that, boy, we want your recommendation. We are organizing the people, and you have to find a way to organize. Saying like how we speak about, as you rather say about the where's these things. It's just splinter. And I was saying to him that what you call those are streams, and when you get the streams in together, then that is what you get the big flow of the river till you start to have waterfalls, right?
Yeah.
And that is where we need to go. With the PMP, with us, with the leadership on the ground in our communities, we need to start to come to this thing and put forward suggestions.
But we know
we must criticize and put forward suggestions.
We know the format that these National Day of Mournings take, right? The format that these National Day of Mourning take, is just to pray and talk. What you are such, I agree with what you are saying, Wesley, in terms of what should happen. But these are the things that the member of parliament, the representatives from the opposition, the community leaders should be doing, getting the views, right, of the citizens in the constituencies as to what can be done, right? This is what leadership is. And leadership from the opposition, from the government, from the community organizations, these are what they should be doing. Getting in these communities, especially those communities that are suffering from these violence, get in there and have these little meetings and whatever else, and organize the people. Ask them this very same questions that you are saying. What can we do? What are your proposals to lessen the crime in the community? What are your proposals to make youths more active in a positive way in your community? What are your proposals to organize youth who would probably get involved in crime, into sports, into music, into cultural activity, and find them work? I mean, I agree with you, but the prayer breakfast is not the route. It can't do what you are saying, because we see the format of these prayer breakfasts. They have not just been taking place now. They have been taking place for years, right? Both parties, everybody want to have a prayer breakfast or some kind of thing, and it just becomes that, a prayer breakfast. You go there, and after you walk away, you feel holy and revitalized in your spirit, and nothing more happens.
Gentlemen,
Yes, I wasn't advocating for a prayer breakfast.
Just a minute. Gentlemen, the prayer breakfast, when it started in Jamaica, had an impact on the violence. The prayer breakfast brought together members of the PNP and the JLP in an atmosphere where they could sit and reason in spite of Siaga bullyism. There is a place for, events like those and those farms. But before I get to my main question, Radigan, you have anything to say, because you said you want to ask a question or say something earlier. If not, I can shift to the other question I have.
Shift. I think we've exhausted this because.
Okay. So the question that arises from all of the comments is exactly this question: what do we expect of the MP? What is the role of the MP in all of this? Because what Wesley is pointing to, you're going to need someone like the MP to organize that thing on the ground, and they are not doing. So what is it that we as Jamaican people should expect of our MP? And I raise that because there is a job description on the table now. Okay? Mr. Radigan, you want to take it from there?
Yeah,
You have to look at the job description.
Yeah, I look at the job description for the MPs and also the job description for the ministers of government. They're memorialized in a green paper for the members of parliament, and in a ministry paper for the ministers of government. And when you read these documents, you realize the hypocrisy, you realize the fallacy, you realize ineptness, you realize the folly of what we call a government.
Give us some example.
All right. When you look at it, let's start. First of all, members of parliament, the prime minister is putting this thing out. Now, does he have the right to say to the opposition, this is what I expect your members to comply with? That's the first issue I have. Who's directing who's directing traffic here? Does he have the right to tell Mark Golding that, look, you're the opposition, I'm in charge of the government, I'm telling you that these are the things we expect from your people? because it says job description for members of parliament, or is it only for his people? I don't know. But then when you read through it, right? And I'm talking about the ones for MPs now. When you read through it, this document is not worth the paper it's on.
Oh, that's
Why?
a very harsh statement.
But it's also a very true statement. And
Okay.
you know why? Because when you read this, Nita and Wesley and Lass, I don't know if you've read this, but when you
No,
read
I
this,
haven't.
when you read this, you realize that they're asking MPs to comply with things that MPs innately should comply with. When you tell an MP, oh, you must have regular contacts with your constituency, what kind of nonsense is that? I mean, how do you tell an MP that? All right, you know what? Let me give some more examples. Hold on there. Give some examples. Here's one. Performance standards. Regular meetings held with constituents to provide updates on constituency matters. You have to tell an MP to do that? Seriously, do you have to tell an MP that? Do you have to memorialize this in a document that says, we're charging you with the responsibility of keeping in touch with your community? You have to tell an MP that?
In Jamaica, yes.
That's my point. You should not have to tell a politician that. And so that's one of the reasons why I like this program, because what we need to do is we need to expose this to the people of Jamaica and say, listen, apparently, because here's the thing, when you pass a law, why do you pass a law? Why? You pass a law because of an emerging threat or an immediate threat, right? Something that you see that's going to happen or something that has happened, right? You don't pass a law with none of that, no timetable, none of that in mind. And when you start putting these things together, it tells you that people aren't doing these things, right? And so that they must tighten up their belts and do this thing. And I can't believe that people are going to sit by idly, at least for the next election cycle, and say, you know what, we haven't seen our MP, or we see him once a year, right? And we're going to be satisfied with that, and we're going to vote for this MP. I don't care what stripe of the political color this guy, our lady is. But you cannot, this document, I'm telling you, when you read it, let me give you another example. Here's another one. This is just, and by the way, you know, you could take this document and read it as a speech and people would cheer you. And at the end of the day, when you ask them, what did you just cheer about? Them can't tell you, right? Okay. Because you know why? It's like the words just flow like a string of pearls. And by the way, I can't believe they put this thing out and there are typos, there are typographical errors in them. But leave that for another time. But here's one. It says, this public role requires parliamentarians to be mindful that conduct in their personal capacity must uphold and be seen to uphold integrity, dignity, and professional stewardship befitting the public office. We're not seeing none of that. And this document won't have them comply. That's my point, because I think it was Wesley who mentioned consequences earlier, maybe last. But there are no consequences for not following these things. You know, the only consequence is the voters come election time. There are no consequences in this. To say, if you don't do this, then this is what's we're going to discipline you. If you don't provide a report on time, we're going to discipline you. None of that is inside of this. This is just like the words just flow like a string of pearls, right? You can read this and people, like I said, people cheer you on. And then when you ask them later on, but if you ask the question, what if you fail to abide by these things? What are the consequences? None. At least not from Parliament, not from the Prime Minister, not from the Cabinet, none. And hold on, why your family the question protect integrity and promote public confidence in the office of Member of Parliament through befitting conduct. What does that mean? It means nothing. But
your little girlfriend with a stool.
Yeah, but and then you get a raise. You get a
salary increase.
Yes. No, here's the one for Minister of Government, right? And listen to this nonsense. Good understanding of the machinery of government. That's one. Good understanding of the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica. We know that. You have to tell somebody this. Here's another one. Good understanding of constitutional principles. Here's another superlative understanding of the principles of ministerial responsibility and collective responsibility. Good understanding of the rules of parliament. Strong understanding of media relations. Excellent ability to translate government policies into work.
Voting on bills.
Yeah, excellent ability to lead people. Here's another one. Excellent ability to mediate disputes. Strong ability to explain our ideas. Strong conviction to the principle. Oh, here's one. Strong conviction to the principles of good governance and its application to ministerial and personal conduct. Are we seeing that? No. We're seeing it in this document. But the question is this. If they fail to do so, what does this document say about consequences? What does it say? Nothing.
Radical.
Yeah.
You know, the more you talk, it is clear, not just to us, but I'm sure to the people watching this program, that this thing has nothing to do with responsibilities of ministers, because all of these things are just vague nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened is that the prime minister and the government came under pressure as a result of giving themselves this hefty increase, and in their minds they feel that this is a justification to come to the people and say, we're going to be working. But doing what?
But last, you know what, last? They paid. I'm given the understanding that they paid millions of dollars to a consulting firm to come up with these measures for them. And look, I could do this in about an hour. I could do this for them.
When you're desperate, you don't think, Radical. When you're desperate, you don't think, you just do something.
Yeah, here's one that you're gonna find really, really interesting. Now, this one is for members of parliament. So now the prime minister is telling Mark Golding that, listen, your MPs, you're the one here, they must have excellent mental acuity to make meaningful contribution to discussions, debates, and offer perspectives.
Oh, you measure that?
Yeah?
How do you measure that? If you're gonna have a job description must have things that can be measured.
Listen.
Right? If you have a job description with things that you cannot measure, how do you know when it is achieved?
Well, look.
Well, can I?
Well on. One of the things that I learned in this, because we have these job descriptions, right, that you have to abide by. And one of the things that they come out with is that your job description must be measurable.
Of course.
Must be attainable.
Of course.
And must be reasonable. That's how you measure people. There's nothing in here to measure somebody by. There's nothing here. It says have frequent contact with your constituency. What's frequent? Is it once a month? You need to tell people, is it once a month? Once every quarter?
Exactly.
What is it? And
when I see something there, Radigan, about timely preparation and submission of project documents for the members of parliament. Right? What's timely?
And if you don't do it timely, what are the consequences?
Exactly. It's all nonsense. It's just a justification. It's just this erratic move to justify the salary increase. And the people's going to see that.
The Jamaican people again have been hoodwinked. They've been robbed. They've been tricked.
I have a job description, and when there's an evaluation, the person evaluating me can tell me to what extent I carry out my responsibility.
Measurable.
Right?
That's
it's measurable. If you have a job description and nothing in there is measurable, it's not a job description.
Yeah. It's like, for example, one of the things we would say, they would, because you have to sit down, you have to draft your they have the overarching goals and objectives, and then they cascade, right? So then when they cascade, right, from your boss to you, you would have to put down there, for example, I intend to open 10 criminal cases. I intend to open 5 sources. That's what you're going to be measured against.
Of course.
For the reporting period.
This is nonsense.
Nonsense.
It is said in 1990, I believe, Michael Manley established a committee, the Stone Committee, head by Carl Stone. And they did a submission, they tabled a document in the parliament around job description for MP. But significantly, that document also had within it giving the citizen the right to recall. The right to recall. And the question is, if these MP fail to do what they are doing, we still have to wait 5 years before we can remove them.
Well, that's why.
Why not the recall? Why are they staying away from the right to recall? Giving Jamaican citizens the right to recall their MP. Why not? Why are they?
Let me just add to that a little bit and just say that one of the things that if this is what they're going to go by, then what I would suggest is that the communities, the constituencies, they have what you call a social contract with the parliamentarian, where they sit down as a constituency with the parliamentarian. Like, let's take, for example, one that you and I are familiar with, Mr. Hilton in Waterhouse, right? Where they have Mr. Hilton come before them, because remember, at the end of the day, he's working for them, right? And then he'll sit down, and as a community, they'll say, listen, we need roads to be fixed here. We need school to be upgraded. We need this, they need that. And they put that in a contract, right? And then now he's got to perform. Or if he doesn't perform, he has to say why he was unable to perform. That's what they should do. They should say, okay, if you want this is between the Prime Minister and you guys, but we're going to have one between us and you. And if you don't measure up to it, then there will be consequences. And in that one, you can put consequences in there. But this, to hold them responsible, this is a piece of garbage.
Garbage, you call it.
Yes. I know what they say, garbage in, garbage out. So they put garbage into this, and so now what we're seeing coming out of it is garbage.
Yeah,
Wesley,
yeah.
you have looked at the document. I take it Lass is looking at it now.
Yeah, man. I know the document, and the document is just that something that say, well, boy, you're talking about say we get raise up pay and we should get a job description. All right, see it here. So them go out and then pay a big consultant for millions of dollars to put that together. While you have that,
sure about that?
Anybody in the ministry who have those type of people could put that document together.
Yep.
So you're saying they pay millions of dollars to a consultant to
that anybody could put it together. You have so much policymakers in the ministry itself, right? In the department that hires and fire people. What you call that department again?
Human resource.
In the human resource department. Any good human resource professional
He's right.
could have put that document together. You don't have to pay for that. So that is one more ripoff this government did to the Jamaican people. Criminal government.
Wesley's
that's what we speak of. That's what we need to highlight. And we and Rattigan said it. Right? Rattigan said it. I have it here in my notes. There was nothing for the community to measure them with, right? There was nothing for the community involved in it. Now that this happened, Rattigan put forward something that we feel that we can also push. Yes, you don't put anything for us, but these are the pointers, right? That I feel that the community members, each community is different, but there will be standard things that community needs, right? So each according to his need, right? But there are standard things like water, road, etc. Those are standard things that will be in any document, right? Or do you, when do you have a meeting of the constituency, right? Or the division, saying, because you know, said some communities divide up in 4 or 5, 6 divisions. When will you have a meeting of yours saying that in division A, right? let's go back to something that each of us know. Using Waterhouse as one of the division, right? Using, for example, say, Painland as a division, right? Using what cross the road, what is it? Newsland as a division, for example. And they are saying in these 3 divisions, we have the members in the division came together with the minister and said, we want to have this for our division. And each division put forward a division paper. And then you look at a constituency thing. You maybe are saying in the constituency, for example, if we are looking at Olympic Way would be running from way up right up, for example, Mullines Road, go straight back down to Agri Park Road, right? So that would be a general thing that all of us in that constituency use, Olympic Way. Right, so we say, well, we need Olympic Way to fix, right? So that is a constituency program, and each division have their own programs. And then now you call the MP and he speaks with us at our divisional level, and then we call a general meeting at one point that he's supposed to call, he or she, where the constituency come together and say, all right, from division A, this was what you're supposed to do. And in the division A, people reports and say this was done, this was not done, this was 50%, and it goes down till everybody reports. And then he now supposed to get up and say, all right. And then each division mark him like, say, out of 10, we give 2 or 5 or 6. So when you look at the average performance from the whole constituency, it may be 6 out of 10, it may be 5 out of 10, it may be 4 out of 10. What is our pass mark? Is it that if him come over 70%, we allow him? If he comes under 60%, we reprimand and ask him, so, well, boy, for next year, for year 2, you need to read, this is where we want you to reach. I'm gonna have that MP, we must be mindful of that. MP will have problem if his party is not in power in terms of getting the money. Because the party that is in power will also sabotage him from getting the money to do those things. So that is where we talk about measurable things, right? So we measure it according to what he have and what he says he has from the Constituency Development Fund. In part of it, they are saying that the Constituency Development Fund, the MP must report to the constituency every 2 years. It's 5 years in the parliamentarian term. Every year you get money, and you're gonna report to us every 2 years. That is 4 times, 2 times out of 5. The last year, what happened? Suppose you rip the money and gone. Mm-hmm. You understand? It should be on a yearly basis that you report to the constituency every September, every October. You report to the constituency and the constituency activities. And this is one of
I want to say this.
Needs to push forward. Your proposal, Rattigan, I think what you need to do is to expand it with what we are speaking about, and let us have like what we call a position paper for constituencies, and we can discuss it and say this is what we believe constituency can look for and then add to it. Because we must always be the program that putting also forward solutions. That's what I'm saying on that.
I think I'm listening to you guys, and I'm saying to myself, if you really know what's happening in the community, because all of what you said is going to require organization. Whether holding the MP, whether mobilizing the community and what have you. And I tell you this, in Waterhouse, there's serious effort being made to organize the people. But it is a challenge because the people have been so beaten down that when they see the MP, the first thing they want is, boss, give me money now, give me this and give me that. And to Mr. Hilton crediting, I must say this. Mr. Hilton in Waterhouse does work, you know. He does work and he meets with people and what sort of thing. He can do more, and a lot of us are very critical of him. But the question for me is this: who will bail the cat? Because, bro, it's going to take organizing. It's going to take some organizing to accomplish all of what you just said. And we are the organizers. We are there.
In the constituency, Mikey?
No, my brother. No, my brother. Most folks who I know involved in organizing right now, they are looking out for themselves, trying to survive.
We won't go anywhere, Mikey. We do what we are speaking of. It's just
No, but see, I'm saying to you, know, brother, don't forget the economic condition in which we operate. And it's a lot. It's very heavy burden to bear. I know quite a few organizers in St. Catherine, in Kingston, and St. Andrew. And when you talk with the comrades, man, and I say comrades because they are mainly PNP or former members of the Workers' Party, they just say, listen, it's a very tough hill to climb, getting the people together. And that's why people like Andrew Wallace and GLP get away with so much, because no organizing is taking place. None whatsoever.
Mikey.
And when it do happen, when organizing do happen, it always as a result of some tragic incident. People come together and say, but after 1 or 2 days, they've gone back to the same old way.
Yeah, Mikey, I agree with you in terms of the difficulty of organizing in the country right now. You mentioned like the economic situation, there's violence, right? And when it comes to monitoring and holding a member of parliament accountable, it has to be an organization that is not under the control of the member of parliament or a single political organization. It has to be in any community, right? While we calling for the accountability, the challenge is getting the independent organization, the mass organization that is representative of everybody.
Yep.
Imagine having a PNP or a GLP member of parliament, and you have a GLP organization who supposed to monetize performance every year or every 2 years. What you're going to have? You're going to have people vying for power inside of that organization, right? And people vying to get scarce benefits inside of that organization, and the person who holds the power in that constituency or in that division is the member of parliament. So even though this is something we've been calling for years, it is a very difficult proposition that we are making, and a proposition that will take lots of organization in putting together mass bodies inside of the communities that are independent of the political parties, but at the same time representative of the community and of the parties themselves. So you're going to have PNP involved. If it's a PNP or GLP constituency, you have PNP and GLP and Christian and youths, where
it has to be an alliance.
Non-political, right? Christian youth, right? So it is an uphill struggle. It is a kind of struggle we take whole heap of awareness in the constituencies. Even though we call for it, it is not an easy road, and it is not something that we can just say, boy, you passed a thing in Parliament say yes, you're gonna have impeachment or you're gonna have recall, and you just go there and set it up. It's gonna take challenge to ensure say that this thing remain independent and representative, right, and fair.
On that note, I want to shift to the visit of Camilla Johnson, that's her name, and the Minister of Finance to Washington, D.C. I heard that. Oh man, I heard Mr. Radigan, you attended that thing. What really happened at that meeting?
Somebody wrote me. Somebody wrote me while the thing was going on.
Yeah.
And say,
can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Somebody wrote me while the but let me give the background. It's the ambassador has something called Let's Connect. It's a program where she brings in, generally speaking, ministers from the government, and they get a chance to interact with the diaspora, whatever you define the diaspora to be. But that's the title they use. And so they come on and they give basically a state of affairs, what's going on in their ministry. And sometimes they'll tell you what's going on with other ministries as well. And they get to field questions from the diaspora. And then people walk away from it feeling good or feeling bad, whatever. But you're going to walk away from it with a feeling, you know. You're not, and it won't be the same feeling as when you come in. Because if you're a supporter, you come in and you say, yeah, you know, you feel bad. And if you're just...
What feeling you walk away with?
I walked away with a feeling that I got what I expected. I wasn't surprised by the things that were said.
Your expectation was very low.
Expectation was very low. And that's because the results have been very low. The results have been dismal. If you listen to and just for your listening audience, the ambassador had on two guests last week, Thursday night. She had on Minister Camilla Johnson Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And she also had on Minister Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. And if you listen to the first 20, 30 minutes of their presentations, you would think that Jamaica is poised for big things. Jamaica is on the cusp of just breaking out, becoming a first world nation in line with Vision 2030. Because the message they delivered in the first 30 minutes or so was that crime was on the decrease, the economy was doing great, and you got the sense that standard of living was okay, and everything was fine. Everything was under control. The ship was steady. You know, there were no waves rocking it, and the ship was being piloted by an able and competent pilot. But once the questioning started, you realize that the ship was rudderless, and the seas were rough.
Tell me more. Tell us more.
Yeah, and it was just all over the place because there are a few questions asked. You know how it is, the ambassador, and this is a public secret. She would have, because we see demonstrations of it all the time. She would have some people that she would have in the chat room, whatever, and she would call on them, even though you may have raised your hand, but she realized that you're gonna detract from the message. Then she'd go past you and then call on somebody. In fact, when the Prime Minister and the police commissioner were here in December, what happened is that there were people in line to ask questions, and she skipped them, and then she started asking. Like she would say, "Michael, I see you in the chat room. I see you online. Go ahead and ask the Prime Minister a question." And what happened? It was distasteful, and it was demeaning, and it was embarrassing. What happened was people would say, "Oh, I didn't raise my hand, but yes, since you call on me, I just want to wish the Prime Minister well." And that happened like frequently, where she would call on people, and there were people waiting to ask questions. Well, this time around, there were some people there waiting for almost an hour. And one questioner asked the Minister of National Security one question, and he also asked the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade a question. The question he asked the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade was, he said, "There's a lawsuit against you." Essentially, I'm paraphrasing what he said. He said, "There's a lawsuit against you, and your response is that you didn't get a gift. But But everything that we've seen so far, you received the benefits from Fin Partners, the money that was paid to Fin Partners. You received the gift of services. And if you had won, it wouldn't have been the Jamaican government that would occupy that Commonwealth seat. It would have been you. And you would have been the one living in London. You would have been the one collecting the 200,000 plus salary. You would have been the one in charge of all of 54 countries. You would have been the one getting all the benefits, not the Jamaican government. The Jamaican government would have gotten a sense of national pride as a benefit to say we have a Jamaican as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. But there was no benefit that Jamaica would have got because there's nothing that you could have given to Jamaica that Jamaica wouldn't have gotten from any Secretary General. So we're trying to figure out who got the gift. If you didn't get the gift and the Jamaican government didn't get the gift, who got the gift? And she turned pale. She couldn't answer the question. Her response was, well, what I've said is the truth, and I maintain that I'm being truthful, and that's it. Then they asked the Minister of Finance and the Public Service. They said, look, you said that the FBI at the initiation of the SSL saga publicly, that the FBI, they're on board, and at one point you said that they were providing the investigation was way much further than you thought it was, and so on and so forth. But we haven't seen the FBI. We haven't heard from the FBI. We haven't heard from you since then. So what we want a status report from you as to what is the FBI doing? Is the FBI there, by the way, and so on and so forth. And he
what was the answer?
He took us around the primrose path. He couldn't answer the question. He said, "Oh, we're getting into."
So they lied to us then.
Undoubtedly, both of them.
They always lie to us.
Let me pause you, Andrew. I want to heal up a listener right now. Big Dip, I see you in the chat group, so stay tuned. Yeah, they always lie to us. But why come to Washington, D.C. and lie to us about something which is going to go through the court? Why?
Well, there is, I maintain that there are some things you can defend, but the one thing you can't defend is...
Can you speak up, Radigan?
Yeah, as I said, there's some things that you can defend, and then there are others that you cannot defend, like the indefensible. Right?
Yeah.
And when you make a statement that when you receive a gift of services, and everybody knows, right? It's not a secret. And then you say, "Oh, I didn't get a gift, and I didn't get a gift of services. The government benefited from that." You basically cornered yourself. There's no turning back. What you should have said way back when, because this thing, people started questioning the financing of her campaign since last year, May.
Oh.
Last year, May. And how do I know this? Because she said it herself, right? She said on June 7th, she said, "Oh, weeks ago I spoke on radio and I talked about the campaign financing and blah, blah, blah." So questions were being asked as far back as last year, May. If she had just come out and said, "Listen, you know what? I should have filed with the Integrity Commission, with the tax administrator, with the Ministry of Finance, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I should have done the filing. I made a mistake. It was an oversight, and I will correct it." That would have been fun. But here's a problem.
It was a financial gift.
It was a gift of services. They paid the people in Jamaica, private individuals, paid Fin Partners in New York to give her consulting services for her campaign. So, and in the Financial Audit and Administrative Act, or Financial Administrative and Audit Act, it says that a donation can be gift of services, and one of the services listed, consultancy services. So she received that. If she had just said, "Yes, I received it and I didn't file," it would have been fine partially, because here's a part that I really think they're trying to avoid. When you get a gift as a government official in Jamaica, and it's more than a certain amount, and it's not from a family member, one of the things you have to do is you have to fill out what's called a gift form. And on that gift form, you have to say who gave you the money, how much money or services. You have to say why they gave it to you, and you also have to list their details. They are fighting tooth and nail not to give us the list of the people who provided monies for that campaign. And that's why she cannot come out and say, "Well, I'm sorry, I will go ahead and file." Because once she does that, she has to give us the names and all the details. And guess what? That is subject to the Access to Information Act of 2002. So anybody could write the Ministry of Finance and Public Service and say, I want to see that document. Give me a copy of it. And they have to give it to you. So they don't want us to know who financed this thing. And so what the government has said, and we know it wasn't a gift to the government because the cabinet, I wrote to the cabinet, a gift like that would have to be approved by the cabinet. The cabinet wrote me back and said, we have no record that this ever took place, that this gift was ever approved. So we know it didn't go for the government, so it wasn't a gift to the government. And if it wasn't a gift to the government, then who was it a gift to?
Camilla.
Exactly. And she's painted herself now. She's doubled down because she said, in her affidavit, which I have a copy of, she said, I didn't get a gift and I didn't receive any benefits from the gift. She said the government got the benefits of the gift. So we said, okay, the government didn't get the gift, you didn't get the gift. You didn't get any benefits, but the government got the benefit. So what's remaining now is who got the gift. It's still out there. Who got the gift? Who got the gift and services?
What is the consequences of that if somebody get a gift and don't report it? Is it a jail term? What is it? Explain that.
That's a good question. Now, let's take her case, for example, because we know now, because she said she didn't get a gift and she received no benefits, we can safely assume that she did not file with the tax administrator, with the Integrity Commission, with the Ministry of Finance, and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, regarding consequences, let's start with the Integrity Commission. It is a crime to knowingly file a false statutory declaration. And she cannot...
A crime in America?
No, in Jamaica.
Okay. How much years that go with? What that go with the penalty?
You can be fined up to 2 million Jamaican dollars or up to 2 years in prison. And we're asking for the 2 year in prison because we have to do something about this corruption thing, right? So that's one thing. The Integrity Commission, they can open up an investigation and they can say she knowingly avoided providing this information to us. And we have evidence that we can prove that she knew that she was supposed to do this. We have evidence, right? But so that's one. Then the tax people, she's supposed to declare that $99,000 as a gift and pay the appropriate taxes on it, which I think is 30%. So it's 99,000 US dollars. So she has to pay for that. Plus there are consequences for misleading the tax administrator for a false filing. Then she's required by law to provide this information to the Ministry of Finance, because one of the things that they take extreme pains to explain is that we don't want tainted money coming into the government stream. We don't want that. So one of the things you have to do when you tell them, when you fill out that gift form, is they do a due diligence to make sure that the money is not coming from a drug dealer, from a scammer, or somebody with some doubtful, shady past. They don't want that. But that wasn't done because he didn't declare it. So we don't know where the money came from. Up to this point, we don't know. So she's facing some severe penalties. Not to mention that she's already tainted by her in the sight of her counterparts, because this case was put out on the internet by a lawyer in DC who specializes in anti-corruption stuff in the Caribbean, and it's going to be placed in a journal, anti-corruption journal, the end of this month. So her colleagues globally, they've seen this. And can you just think about all the CARICOM nations who told Jamaica that this is going to be divisive? You don't do it, because there was, in February, I believe, of 2022, there was a consensus in CARICOM that we are going to support Baroness Patricia Scotland from Dominica. And about 4 weeks later, Jamaica abandoned and reneged on that consensus. And they said, we're putting up our own candidate, right? Now, here's the thing. She said in an interview that countries came to Jamaica and convinced Jamaica to put up a candidate, right? And she was the candidate. Now, Jamaica spent about 42 million Jamaican dollars supporting this candidacy. That's 18 point something million dollars that they gave her, right? Also included in that was money for public relations. And they spent the rest of it with a delegation that traveled to Kigali in Rwanda for the conference, right? Now, think about this, gentlemen. Somebody comes to you and say, I need you to do this thing, and it's going to cost you money out of your pocket. And I just want you to do it because I'm asking you. I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to give you anything. And you can take your scarce dollars from the public coffers and just spend it on that. And don't worry about it. Just do it. And you spend $42 million and you get no support from these people asking you to do it. What kind of nonsense is this? That's not how you run government, and we believe that's not how it was done. We believe that what really happened was, hey, do this thing, and we will take care of you over this side. And by the way, did you notice that? And there was an argument saying that Boris Johnson was the one behind it because he didn't like he didn't get along well with the Baroness. And we shouldn't forget that just this month, the Foreign Secretary, the UK Foreign Secretary, came to Jamaica bearing gifts. Just like how Kamina went to, the Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith went to Morocco and decided that Jamaica, after so many years of supporting the people of the Western Sahara, that Jamaica would no longer support them in their fight for autonomy from Morocco. And what happened right after that? We got 2.6 million pounds of fertilizer from Morocco. That's a quid pro quo, right? And then to take it even further, when we started asking questions about the fertilizer, we found out now that at least about 200,000 pounds of fertilizer missing. And this is based on their numbers. This is not my numbers that I am snooping around and come up with. This is what they've given me, saying we got this amount of fertilizer, we distributed this amount of fertilizer. And then when you look at the two numbers, they don't add up. And then they also tell you that, oh, some bags were damaged and we sent those to a research center and we don't know the weight. We don't know how much was there. I said, come on, man.
Stick up in there. I want to invite the listeners that the phone line is now open, so you can call in with any question you have for the panelists. Okay, go continue, Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is, a program like this was destined to happen. And now that it's happened, I'm just hopeful that people tune in and pay attention to what's going on, because what we're bringing is education. And it starts there. We're letting people know what the government is doing, not what the government is saying it's doing, but what the government is actually doing. And for those, you have some people, naysayers, who say, well, you might go after the lady and this and that and that and that. I've said it on several programs, and I'll repeat it. Anytime anybody should ask, why is it you're going after a public official for breaches of Jamaican law or administrative regulations, all you have to do is say to them, listen, do you agree that there is something wrong with corruption in this country, with parliamentarians getting certain types of treatment that's different from the ordinary person? Do you believe that parliamentarians they're skirting the laws? And you're going to get yes. And he said, okay, now do you believe that we should be doing something about that, right? In terms of good governance, transparency, accountability, ethics, and so on. And they're going to tell you yes. The third question, which is probably the most important question, is then what are you doing about it? And that's where I stop them dead in their tracks. Because
my other question when you finish.
Wesley, can you sit back so we can see your face? Sit back, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other question towards that, because I'm interested in it, I want to learn about it, that I can speak of it, say it is coming from a source that I am sure of.
Yes.
When I speak in any forum, I know I cannot, there's no lawsuit coming to me.
Okay.
And no lawsuit to this program.
Okay.
All right? And I know you're a man of integrity. All right, you notice I use the word integrity,
and I know to stress it too, and it should be stressed,
because I really believe in people with integrity. All right.
Yes.
After, if for example, how long after she can go to prison?
What do you mean?
And where? And where?
What do you mean? How long?
Like after, suppose for example they lose the next election, she still can go to prison?
Yes, because there's no statute of limitations on this. There's no statute of limitation. So she can
say the next 2 or 3, 4 years time it can call up.
Yes, she can go to prison. In fact, I'm hoping that she goes to prison much sooner, because this is a very easy investigation. All they have to do, Wesley, is just say to her, is well, they don't even have to say to her because and I'll make it public. I reached out to the Integrity Commission. I filed a request for the initiation of an investigation, and I also said to them, I will give you all the documents I have. Don't take my word for it. I'll give you documents from the cabinet. I'll give you documents from the Ministry of Finance. I'll give you documents from Fin Partners, from the U.S. government.
And what was the reaction?
I'm waiting for them to come back to me. I'm waiting for them to come back to me. And I've said the same thing to the tax people as well. And I'm waiting for them to, no, you see, one of the things I asked the tax people, did she file? And them start playing games with me and I run around and I carry on. But we don't even need that now because she come out and say, hey, I never get a gift and I never get a benefit. And if you didn't
Which
get a
mean that
gift,
she hadn't filed.
yeah, if you don't get a gift, why you go file for a gift? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
So she didn't file. So I know that she didn't file.
So, for example,
so
comes back
hold on,
now and
Wesley.
say that she
Just a
filed.
minute, Wesley.
What
Just a minute.
can it be reversed?
If what?
If she comes back tomorrow morning and say, boy, I'm sorry, I made a mistake and some foolishness, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
Can it be reversed?
Well, I tell you what. If she does something like that, within a week, she's going to get another lawsuit from me. And this one is going to be for slander.
Defamation.
Yes, for slander, defamation. Because she came out and said that the thing that my lawyer drafted, all of that, she said it was baseless, it was false, and it was defamatory. That's what she said. So if she come out now and say, oh, I'm sorry, that's perfectly good grounds for me to move forward with my lawsuit.
So could this be a situation where she's caught in a lie? She's caught in a lie, but she just don't know how to get out of it.
Well, you start out the question by saying could. No.
It is.
It is.
No, I have to qualify.
There's no qualification. Listen,
She's
there's
caught in a lie.
No, there's no qualification necessary.
What
I'll give you an example why.
What I want to ask.
Well, I'll tell you why there's no qualification necessary. I went on a program, a very noted program in Jamaica, and the person said to me, Mr. Rattigan, you've said allegedly that. And I said, wait a minute, hold on, let me stop you right there. I said, I'm not saying she allegedly did this. I said, I'm saying she did this. I said, I don't need alleged on this because I have the evidence that she did it. She did not file with the Ministry of Finance. I said, and how do I know this? Because I have a document from the Ministry of Finance. In fact, I have 2 documents from the Ministry of Finance saying that she didn't file. So why am I going to say allegedly? Why am I going to say allegedly? And not only that, they said to me, there is no such document in the entire ministry evidencing the fact that she filed. We have no documents in this ministry. They didn't even say we don't have any documents in the access to information section, so that they could come back later on and say, well, we found it somewhere else in the ministry. They said there is no document in this entire ministry. So why am I going to say allegedly? Why? Or why am I going to use the word could? Could it be? No, it is. It is. I yield to you, my brother, Laz.
Here's my question, Radigan. Is it possible for them to stall and drag this thing into the ground?
Well, the beauty about it is that, and I may have to, let me see if I can break this down, especially for the listening audience, people who don't understand legal terms. Let me just try and explain it so that they can understand. There's something called judicial review, where you're asking the court, essentially you're saying to the court, Judge, look, I need you to tell the government to do A, B, C, D. When you're asking the court to tell the government to do a certain thing that it's required to do, it's mandated to do, that one you can drag that one out because you have to file that with the court, and what you're asking for the court to do is to give you leave to go and then file. So you come to the court and say, Judge, I have a case. Tell me if this case is worthwhile filing. So the judge is going to look at it and the judge is going to make a decision. The judge may say, no, I don't think this is worthwhile, and your case is dismissed. Or yes, it's worthwhile. And then that gives you the right to then file. They can drag that out. I didn't file that. The one I filed is for an administrative order. It's for the judge to issue a declaration. That doesn't take much. So what it says is, Judge, I'm going to give you some evidence. I want you to look at this evidence as you would in an objective and impartial light. And I want you to issue the order I'm asking for. And the order I'm asking for is to say, Judge, Minister Kamina Johnson Smith received a gift. That's number one. And number two, she did not file as per the statutory regulations and the law of Jamaica. That's it. I'm not asking him to punish her, fine her, send her to
Yeah,
prison.
but there's going to be punishment because that will open her, if she admits,
Exactly.
open her up to a lawsuit.
Exactly. You're right. Because, and somebody said in a chat room last night I was on, they said, but this declaration I mean, not, I'm saying to him, says, just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. You don't know what's going on. But if that person is listening, now them know. Because that order saying that she received a gift and she didn't file, guess what? Now the Integrity Commission's job is easier. Because now they said, we have a legal opinion that you received the gift, you didn't file. And now we know based on the evidence provided by Mr. Rattingham that you knowingly did this. You knowingly didn't account for the $99,000, and therefore we're going to bring a case against you. The tax people can go after her. The ministry people can go after her. So just with that order, so it's hard for them to drag that out because that's just a hearing. That's just a hearing. They can file stuff, but here's what happened. They went to the judge at the first hearing and said, Judge, we wanna push this thing to September of this year. And you know what I did? I said, Judge, listen. Why are we doing it in September? Let's do it in October. They want another month. I said, give them until October.
You sound like Jack Smith. You sound like Jack Smith.
Because here's what
Donald Trump.
No, because
One more
here's
question on that. One more question on that. Can this lawsuit be filed in another jurisdiction?
Well,
because this is the question.
Wesley,
it's a Commonwealth thing. Could it be filed in like say in another Commonwealth island that she's not a part of, that they don't drag it out?
You kill me. You fire power cylinder, man. Listen.
Yeah, it shouldn't, because they have no jurisdiction over her.
No. Here's the thing. There may be jurisdiction because she was running for the Commonwealth, right?
Yes, that's why I'm asking that.
I'm not sure. There may be.
So also, you need, that's your homework to check, Paul.
You have to go check on that. But here's another thing I found out.
I doubt it, because
here's something else I found out this week, and this should be frightening to all of the politicians in Jamaica, the crooked politicians. There is a kleptocracy law in America that says that if you can show that, for example, that a politician in Jamaica used or stole American funds from the American government earmarked for projects in Jamaica, if you can prove that the money was stolen, you don't even have to prove that it was wired. Just prove that the money was stolen. And if somebody reports that in Jamaica, guess what happened? The American government will pursue that action in America. And if that person is found guilty and the seizures and the forfeitures take place, the person who reported that gets 30%. 30%. And they may even get a visa out of it. Because at that point they say, hey, my life is at stake here. I can't stay in Jamaica. And they say, all right, fine, welcome to Uncle Sam country. No, we're gonna pursue that. So and again, I'm not aware of a statute of limitation. So we're gonna look back and say, okay, we want to see all the donations, all the loans made to Jamaica, and we want to follow the money and see where the money went. And if we can prove that the money went into somebody's pocket, then we can actually establish jurisdiction in America and take it from there. So serious business is we're pursuing. And for people, this is part of the action program, because people say, yeah, just is like a talk shop, talk, and nothing gets done. Well, we are trying to show them now, so we mean business. And whether we succeed or fail, we won't know until we try. And that's where we are right now. We're in the trying stages. We are trying everything, anything, because we cannot tolerate this any longer.
Check and see if it can file in our next Commonwealth country.
And believe me, Wesley, I will. And if it can, we will.
Yes. Because we know what will happen here. Remember that the tax department is people who get paid from the government and civil servants that may not want to go that way because they are afraid.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Remember that the judges may be our friends.
Right. But there are two things that Jamaican politicians are afraid of. They're afraid of losing that B1, B2 visa. They have an A visa. right? The ministers, they have an A visa and they have a B1, B2. The A visa, you can only use that for official purposes. The B1, B2, you can fly go to Miami, go visit your friend and spend the weekend on a yacht or whatever and shopping and come back. They were afraid of losing that. And they were also afraid of being criminally prosecuted in the United States and go to prison here. They're afraid of those things. And so those are the Achilles heel, and that's where we're going.
Well, there might be a more serious threat facing Jamaica, because I just received something saying that Jamaica has not put in place an action plan to deal with the anti-money laundering and financing of terrorism act. The finance minister, well, by the way, this warning was issued on Friday by the Financial Action Task Force, the Global Intergovernmental Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Watchdog. As a result of this failure, Jamaica is grey listed, which means that color the extent to which people want to do business with Jamaica, because Jamaica is seen as a lawless country, money laundering and the likelihood of financing terrorism. But the minister is saying that they will have an action plan in place by October. The Anti-Money Laundering Act and financing of terrorism is still outstanding.
But you see the point I'm making,
Quiet.
Nita. See the point I'm making is that, again, we are a reactive society. Something has to happen, and then we take action. Why couldn't they have done this? Because this act that you're talking about is not something new. This is not something new. Why didn't they just comply with this back then? Why? You know what? This is similar to the 7-point plan, the integrity thing that they're supposed to sign with the Integrity Commission that the government hasn't signed yet. And you know what's interesting about that? What's interesting about that is that Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, who hasn't signed, if she had become a member of the Commonwealth, if she had become the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, that's essentially the same damn document you would have to sign and abide by. So why is it that you would do it for the Commonwealth, but you wouldn't do it for your own country? Why is it that you would agree to openness, to transparency, to selflessness, to all of these things? Why would you agree to it for the Secretary General position, but you wouldn't do it for your ministerial position in Jamaica? Why?
We know why.
Okay.
We know why. We know that the problem in Jamaica is that a den of thieves have taken over the state, and they dominate the state. So if they keep as much as possible in the dark, then it will not be a problem. Last, I think you want to chip something in here on this case with Kamina Johnson. You have any question from Radigan?
Not really, because what I was thinking, like knowing how these people operate.
Yeah.
If there's any loophole for them to stall and to, run things on into the ground. But I think Radigan sufficiently cleared, in terms of what he's doing and all of that stuff. So it cleared the air on that, because I was nervous about that aspect of it, because that's just the nature of our government.
Let me run something by you, Lars. We now have contact with people in Washington, D.C., who are very, very interested in what's going on in Jamaica in terms of corruption. And like I said, one of the lawyers, he already published this story on the internet. It's out there, and he's going to put it in his journal. His organization, they publish a journal every month, and it's going to be in there. So we're keeping the focus, we're keeping the spotlight on these things. We're not going to let it die. And when the foundation comes into being, the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation, when that comes into being, then we're going to have a PR arm of that foundation that will deal with this thing to make sure that even if they try to stifle it, even if they try to choke it off in court, in the court of public opinion, and as far as other jurisdictions are concerned, the US, UK, and so on and so forth, it's still alive. And You know, there's nothing worse to a politician than to be regarded as a pariah. When you walk into the room, the voices get hushed. People don't want to talk to you and things of that nature. That's damaging. That's damaging. I've seen it with my own eyes. And so for that lady, Kamina Johnson Smith, I'm telling you right now that she's not sleeping well. Also, I've neglected to tell you this. Somebody brought up something about a relative of hers who was deported. And maybe I mentioned it, but she can't answer that either. And can you imagine?
That question was asked in Washington, D.C., right?
Well, that came up. That based on what I'm being told, that there's a file regarding that person, and it's just a matter now before we get that file. But the thing about me is that I don't want to go after family members unless family members are involved in the corruption, are involved in the skirting of the laws, and so on and so forth.
So what they said, a family member of her was deported.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what was said. But here's the thing that let me show you something. Here's the thing that the Integrity Commission is asking him to sign on to, selflessness, right? To say that we're going to be selfless, and so our office will act solely in terms of the public interest. Number 2, integrity, right? We know that means objectivity, making choices on the merit, accountability, submit yourself to whatever scrutiny is appropriate to your office, openness, give reasons for your decision, right? Honesty, to declare any private interests relating to their public duties and to take steps to resolve any conflicts arising in a way that protects the public interest. And 7, leadership. This is all they're asking them to sign. This is all they're asking them to sign. And you're like, no, we're not going to sign it. And this is what she would have signed on to if she had become Commonwealth Secretary. She'd sign it over there, but you won't sign it where she lives. You see the nonsense?
She's not signing because you know that she have no integrity. So you don't sign things if you don't have no integrity.
I don't. So you think that's why?
Yes.
Don't want to sign
integrity. Why would I sign something if I don't have no integrity?
Look. The thing is, you have to draw a negative inference from it, and I'll tell you why. Because the Integrity Commission. Remember, and I think I mentioned this on the program last time. The what's his name? Greg Christie. He met with the Prime Minister in June of 2020. The Prime Minister said to him, "Listen, we need some integrity training. We need a cabinet to get it." And so he briefed the cabinet at that point because he was meeting with them. This was June of 2020. Then in November of 2020 to February of 2021, he gave them the training. The Integrity Commission trained them on these 7 principles. They trained them, right? Then they met with them about 10 times to provide that training. Then in November of 2022, after the training was over, way after the training was over, because the training was over in May of 2022. In November of 2022, the Integrity Commission sent a letter to the Prime Minister and the opposition leader saying, you need to sign this document now. Now that you've received the training, you need to sign this. Because both parties, the opposition and the government, both of them got training. And in November, Greg Christie and his group said, you need to sign this. Right? Then in January of this year, Mark Golding signed, followed by 10 members of the opposition. So far, the cabinet hasn't signed and the Prime Minister hasn't signed. Now, keep in mind, this is what them asked for. They asked for this and he said, okay, here, I'll give you the training. Now you need to sign. They don't want to sign. But let me remind all of you here on the panel and the listening audience that it's not surprising that the Prime Minister didn't sign, for me, because
why?
Because here you have a man whose statutory declaration for the past 2 years, I'm not even counting this year, which was he tendered it by March 31st of this year. I'm not talking about this year, talking about 2 years prior. Those submissions have not been verified by the Integrity What he put down on the paper, they're saying, no go so. And there's no attempt to resolve that issue. So why would he then come and sign? Because no, if he signs this thing now, they say, oh, but Mr. Prime Minister, you said that selflessness and integrity and objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. So you're bound to this thing. So now we can't do some things with you. We can't play games with you. So now he's not going to sign that. He's not going to sign that because I cannot think of a good reason not to sign that document, especially when you ask for it. You ask for it and them give it to you, and now you say, no, I don't want it. And then Camila is in a worse position. Minister Johnson is in a worse position because she was going head of organization that subscribes to this. And she said, no, I'm not signing a damn thing in Jamaica. I'll sign it for the Commonwealth, but I'm not signing it for Jamaica.
Well, let me say this. The Jamaican people have an expression go like this. If you put butter a puss mouth, they will eat it. But them tend to forget that if you want to kill a cat, you have to put the razor blade in the butter. You understand me? These guys are playing some dangerous games. And they know that the weakness in the state, there are so many weaknesses that they just exploit it. That's basically what I'm doing. Exploit the opportunities and weaknesses of the state. Because I tell you this, they know that it's going to come to an end now. I am pretty much sure that they know that what they're doing will come to an end. It is going to get exposed. You understand? Because you only can do so much before it come to light.
Let me tell you something.
I hope when them expose them go prison though.
Yeah, let me tell you something. You know, and it's very telling what you're saying, because I fully believe that, like you said, they know it's coming to an end, and what they're trying to figure out now is how do we escape any consequences?
And hide the asset.
Yeah. You can't hide the assets anymore. Times change. You can't hide the asset anymore. Again, example, like Herb mentioned, a friend of mine mentioned yesterday, the gentleman who allegedly beat up his girlfriend, the parliamentarian, right?
Yeah.
And Herb said, I don't understand the JCF because it's very simple. He has a cell phone, and all they have to do is pinpoint that cell phone and the time and the date of the activity, and it would have put him right there. They can tell you the exact location where the person carrying that phone was standing. So now he would have to say, okay, the person that you see beating up that woman and the phone that they allegedly had on them, that was my phone, but it was somebody else. That's what he's gonna have to say. It wasn't me, it was somebody else. But why didn't they do that? Why didn't the police do a geolocation of where the phone was? That's simple. Simple.
Last you want to answer that?
No, that from when that case was taking place, it was open to everybody that the police, they were part of the problem in that case, right? Because that case was so like clear cut, and it's just that they wanted to make a deal with the electorate, the people in the political party. It's simple. There was no investigation that they did.
Hey, you know what? You know what, Nita? I sit down there and I think, you know, and you see them two documents here, the job description for the members of Parliament of Jamaica and the job description for ministers of government. Somebody should have really bring an action for fraud, you know, for the Jamaican government to spend that kind of money for this. And like Wesley and Lass said, you have human resources people in Jamaica who can be far better than this.
Are we sure that they pay for that? Are we sure that they spend? Are we sure that they paid for this?
Yes, they said it. And then when the Gleaner now is asking for
yes, it came out, but I didn't get the paper on Friday. I was trying to hunt it down. I heard that is big money, big buck. I can't call the figure because I don't read it and I cannot confirm.
And what
I heard that it was a big buck.
Yeah, and what they did was
many different.
The Gleaner filed under the access to information and asked for a copy of the contract, something to that effect. And they said, no, so up to now, they haven't provided it. So they said, we don't understand that you use this document as the basis for this, which was then used for the increase in wages, but you don't want to show us the document. And we're the ones.
They said it's a draft. It is still in draft.
Bro, wait a minute.
That's what they said.
Okay, yeah, but how can it be in draft?
You to get a draft.
How can it be in draft and finish pay for it?
Because what they're arguing is that the reform process is still ongoing.
No,
that is their line of defense. But they haven't said is...
But the reform and the document that is supposed to lead the reform is two different things. I mean, if this document is supposed to be the basis of the reform,
Exactly.
I mean, this should be a complete document.
But what they told the Gleaner,
There can be no reform in place if you don't have a complete document to initiate the reform.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna do a reform on a
That's
draft.
nonsense. That's another. They're using nonsense to cover nonsense. That's all they're doing.
You know, there's a saying that it's not so much the crime, it's the cover up.
Oh yeah.
Cover up is the problem,
But they're doing a bad job.
Yeah, they do.
well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for our lively discussion. And I think it's safe to conclude that Jamaica is caught in the vice of some devious guys and girls, robbing left, right, and center, in spite of the sufferation on the back of the people. But a day will come when the Jamaican people will, and they will stand up to these, stupid acts, robbery, and all of that. So, on that note, I want to thank all the guests, thank the listeners, and I must remind you, something said on this program, and it's not necessarily supposed by this channel. It's just the views of the individual taking part. And if you want to stay in touch with us, please subscribe, like, and share. Our YouTube channel is Waterhouse Vibes. And until next Sunday, walk good. One love,
Yes,
brothers and sisters. Thank you very much.
Yes, Sir Ratty, I want you to tell me next week if there is a year outside of Jamaica, if these people can come to book.
Okay.
I'm very interested.
All right.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Last.
Yes.